welcome to Vanity. We're reading a story, but first we're going to be reading Bible, and then you're going to be doing synopsis, and then you're going to be reading Pilgrim's Progress. If you guys enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow this video.
Make sure to like button.
I will take you, but not you. Bye. Oh my kid, now I'm going to take you and maybe.
Hello. That was one of the more normal intros that we've had. So, all right, we're on Exodus chapter 25. We get to learn about the Ark of the Covenant. So, this is the English Standard Version. Let me go ahead and get started. Oh, hello. Mama Bear shared a video. Reminds me to turn my silent mode on. All right, so here we go. This is Exodus 25. That's what it comes up as.
On Facebook, yeah.
Huh?
That was
You showed the live stream.
Oh.
Mama Bear shared a video. She's been hacked! Alright. Alright, so we're on Exodus chapter 25. This is the English Standard Version. Let me begin. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the people of Israel that they take for me a contribution. From every man whose heart moves him, you shall receive the contribution for me. And this is the contribution that you shall receive from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarns, and fine twisted linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, goat skins, acacia wood, oil for the lamp, spices for the anointing oil, and for the fragrant incense, onyx stones and stones for setting, for the ephod, and for the breastpiece. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell in their midst, exactly as I show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle and all its furniture, so you shall make it." Hello, 3 people. Thank you for being here. "They shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, a cubit and a half its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold. Inside and outside shall you overlay it, and you shall make on it a molding of gold around it. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them on its 4 feet, 2 rings on the one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. You shall make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. And you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark by them. The poles shall remain in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony that I shall give you. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, and a cubit and a half its breadth. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, of hammered work shall you make them on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherub on the one end, and 1 cherub on the other end. Of one piece with the mercy seat shall you make the cherubim on its 2 ends. The cherubim shall spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings, their faces one to another. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubim be. And you shall put the mercy seat on the top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. There I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the testimony, I will speak with you about all that I will give you in commandment for the people of Israel. You shall make a table of acacia wood. 2 cubits shall be its length, a cubit its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, and make a molding of gold around it. And you shall make a rim around it, a handbreadth wide, and a molding of gold around the rim. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and fasten the rings to 4 corners at its 4 legs. Close to the frame the rings shall lie as holders for the poles to carry the table. You shall make the poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold, and the table shall be carried with these. And you shall make its plates and dishes for incense, and its flagons and bowls with which to pour drink offerings. You shall make them of pure gold. And you shall set the bread of the presence on the table before me regularly. You shall make a lampstand of pure gold. The lampstand shall be made of hammered work. Its base, its stem, its cups, its calyxes, and its flowers shall be of one piece with it. And there shall be 6 branches going out of its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side of it, and 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side of it. 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower on one branch, and 3 cups made like almond blossoms, each with calyx and flower on the other branch. So for the 6 branches going out of the lampstand, and on the lampstand itself, there shall be 4 cups made like almond blossoms, with their calyxes and flowers, and a calyx of one piece with it under each pair of the 6 branches going out from the lampstand. Their calyxes and their branches shall be of one piece with it, the whole of it a single piece of hammered work of pure gold. You shall make 7 lamps for it, and the lamps shall be set up so as to give light on the space in front of it. Its tongs and their trays shall be of pure gold. It shall be made with all these utensils out of the talent of pure gold, and see that you make them after the pattern for them, which is being shown you on the mountain. That's the end of chapter 25. I know this seems really tedious, actually, these chapters where they're talking about, and we're going to have some more of them coming up, about the different places in the tabernacle and the descriptions that God gives for the building of it, and then later on you actually have the description of the actual building of the tabernacle. So while that might seem a little tedious, why is it important? Kimberly, why do you think that it might be important to know what all this descriptive stuff about the tabernacle?
Well, first off, if God didn't give them such explicit instructions, they wouldn't have been able to build it.
Okay.
Second, it's pretty cool to know how big and how much and what would be in a tabernacle and what they would do in the tabernacle.
Okay, so Kimberly's saying that it's good to know the descriptions and also to see how God would set it up. Also, I think that it's almost like a vision of heaven, perhaps. And also, we see the fulfillment in the New Testament. So we can talk about all of those things separately when we have more time. Right now, we're going to read chapter 24 of the Pilgrim's Progress. But first, I'm going to just tell you, the last chapter was super long. And it took, almost 2 hours to read it. So basically what happened is they came upon Evangelist, and they found out that Evangelist had just had enough of the Christian nonsense, and he was ready to go back to the city of destruction. And here's Kimberly to say how it really happened.
You serious, Chad? I don't think Evangelist even lived in the city of destruction. But what happened was, Evangelist said, "Hey, good job. I'm very happy with how far you've come. It's really awesome that you've gotten this far in your journey." And he tells them that one of them is going to make it to the heavenly city first, and the other is going to have a longer pilgrimage than the other. I think that Christian will have the longer pilgrimage, partially because the book's so much more longer. I'm going to hand it off to Dad, though, who's going to read us a story.
Okay, and I'm not actually sure what she said, but basically it was a very short one, and obviously Evangelist did not stray from the straight and narrow path. So we're on chapter 24, Vanity Fair, Hubbub in the Fair, and In the Cage. So here we go. Chapter 24. Then I saw in my dream that when they were got out of the wilderness, they presently saw a town before them, and the name of that town is Vanity. Wait just a second. Just thinking we should all write out all the laws, 600 plus. I think it's 300 something. I think it's like 313 or something. On the side of the paper labeled, "The righteousness God requires." I can't see the whole comment. It won't let me see the whole comment. So I will read the comment and I will make a statement probably in a message. So, but let me go ahead and read chapter 24 and then I'll get to the comment later. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start over because I don't know where we were. I'm going to wait for my children to sit down and be obedient. And two are sitting down. Waiting for one more, I don't even see. Okay, there we go. All right, so chapter 24, Vanity Fair, Hubbub in the fair, and in the cage. I'm going to start over and let me begin. Then I saw in my dream that when they were got out of the wilderness, they presently saw a town before them, and the name of that town is Vanity. And at the town there is a fair kept, called Vanity Fair. It is kept all the year long. It beareth the name of Vanity Fair, because the town where it is kept is lighter than vanity, and also because all that is there sold, or that cometh thither, is vanity, as is the saying of the wise. All that cometh is vanity, except, of course, our merry band of travelers, pilgrims, that are going to the golden city. All right, they're not vanity. All right, so anyway, I'll keep going. This fair is no new erected business, but a thing of ancient standing. I will show you the original of it. Almost 5,000 years ago, there were pilgrims walking to the celestial city, as these two honest persons are, and Beelzebub, Apollyon, and Legion, with their companions, perceiving by the path that the pilgrims made that their way to the city lay through this town of Vanity, they contrived here to set up a fair wherein should be sold all sorts of vanity, and that it should last all the year long. Therefore, at this fair are all such merchandise sold as houses, lands, trades, places, honors, preferments, titles, countries, kingdoms, lusts, pleasures, and delights of all sorts, as harlots, wives, husbands, children, masters, servants, lives, blood, bodies, souls, silver, gold, pearls, precious stones, and what not. And moreover, at this fair there is at all times to be seen jugglings, cheats, games, plays, fools, apes, knaves, and rogues, and that of every kind. Here are to be seen too, and that for nothing, thefts, murders, adulteries, false swearers, and that of blood-red color. And as in other fairs of less moment, there are the several rows and streets under their proper names, where such and such wares are vended. So here, likewise, you have the proper places, rows, streets, namely countries and kingdoms, where the wares of this fair are soonest to be found. Here is the Briton row, the French row, the Italian row, the Spanish row, the German row, where several sorts of vanities are to be sold. And don't forget the American row, which isn't included for some reason. We don't know why.
Because it wasn't in America.
Yeah, we know why. All right, I was just saying that. But as in other fairs, some one commodity is as the chief of all the fair. So the ware of Rome and her merchandise is greatly promoted in this fair. Only our English nation, with some others, have taken a dislike thereat. Now, as I said, the way to the celestial city lies just through this town, where this lusty fair is kept, and he that will go to the city and yet not go through this town must needs go out of the world. The Prince of Princes himself when here went through this town to his own country, and that upon a fair day too. Yea, and as I think it was Beelzebub, the chief lord of this fair, that invited him to buy of his vanities, yea, would have made him lord of the fair, would he but have done him reverence as he went through the town. Yea, because he was such a person of honor, Beelzebub had him from street to street, and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a little time, that he might, if possible, allure that blessed one to cheapen and buy some of its vanities. But he had no mind to the merchandise, and therefore left the town without laying out so much as 1 farthing upon these vanities. This fair, therefore, is an ancient thing, of long standing, and a very great fair. Now these pilgrims, as I said, must needs go through this fair. Well, so they did, but behold, even as they entered into the fair, all the people in the fair were moved, and the town itself, as it were, in the hubbub about them, and that for several reasons. For first, the pilgrims were clothed with such kind of raiment as was diverse from the raiment of any that traded in the fair. The people, therefore, of the fair made a great gazing upon them. Some said they were fools, some they were bedlams, and some they were outlandish men. Secondly, and as they wondered at their apparel, so they did likewise at their speech. For few could understand what they said. They naturally spoke the language of Canaan, but they that kept the fair were the men of this world, so that from one end of the fair to the other they seemed barbarians each to the other. Thirdly, but that which did not a little amuse the merchandisers was, that these pilgrims set very light by all their wares. They cared not so much as to look upon them, and if they called upon them to buy, they would put their fingers in their ears and cry, "Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity," and look upward, signifying that their trade and traffic was in heaven. One chanced mockingly, beholding the carriage of the men, to say unto them, "What will ye buy?" And they, looking gravely upon him, said, "We buy the truth." At that there was an occasion taken to despise the men the more, some mocking, some taunting, some speaking reproachfully, and some calling upon others to smite them. At last things came to a hubbub and great stir in the fair, insomuch that all order was confounded. Now was word presently brought to the great one of the fair, who quickly came down and deputed some of his most trusty friends to take those men into examination, about whom the fair was almost overturned. So the men were brought to examination, and they that sat upon them asked them whence they came, whither they went, and what they did there in such an unusual garb. The men told them they were pilgrims and strangers in the world, and that they were going to their own country, which was the heavenly Jerusalem, and that they had given no occasion to the men of that town, nor yet to the merchandisers, thus to abuse them, and to let them in their journey. Except it was for that, when one asked them what they would buy, they said they would buy the truth. But they that were appointed to examine them did not believe them to be any other than bedlams and mad, or else such as came to put all things into a confusion in the fair. Therefore they took them and beat them and besmeared them. The difference between bemeared and besmeared is exceedingly great. They beat them and besmeared them with dirt, and then put them into the cage, that they might be made a spectacle to all the men of the fair. There, therefore, they lay for some time, and were made the objects of any man's sport or malice or revenge, the great one of the fair laughing. Still, all all at the great one of the fair, laughing still at all that befell them. But the men being patient, and not rendering railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, and giving good works for bad, and kindness for injuries done, some men in the fair that were more observing and less prejudiced than the rest began to check and blame the baser sort for their continual abuses done by them to the men. They, therefore, in an angry manner let fly at them again, counting them as bad as the men in the cage, and telling them that they seemed confederates, and should be made partakers of their misfortunes. The others replied that for aught they could see, the men were quiet and sober, and intended nobody any harm, and that they were many that traded in their fare, that were more worthy to be put into the cage, yea, and pillory too, than were the men that they had abused. Thus, after divers, it's diverse, but it doesn't have an E because it's an older English. Thus, after diverse words had passed on both sides, the men behaving themselves all the while very wisely and soberly before them, they fell to some blows among themselves, and did harm one to another. Then were these two poor men brought before their examiners again, and were charged as being guilty of the late hubbub that had been in the fair. So they beat them pitifully, and hanged irons upon them, and led them in chains up and down the fair for an example and terror to others, lest any should speak in their behalf, or join themselves unto them. These are visions that people would be accustomed to in the 1600s. They would see these kinds of things for people that were to be made spectacle of. But Christian and faithful behaved themselves yet more wisely, and received the ignominy and shame that was cast upon them with so much meekness and patience, that it won to their side, though but few in comparison of the rest, several of the men in the fair. This put the other party yet into a greater rage, insomuch that they concluded the death of these two men, wherefore they threatened that neither cage nor iron should serve their turn, but that they should die for the abuse they had done, and for deluding the men of the fair. Then were they remanded to the cage again, until further orders should be taken with them. So they put them in, and made their feet fast in the stocks. Here also they called again to mind what they had heard from their faithful friend Evangelist, and were the more confirmed in their way and sufferings by what he told them would happen to them. They also now comforted each other, that whose lot it was to suffer, even he should have the best of it. Therefore each man secretly wished that he might have the preferment, but committing themselves to the all-wise disposal of him that ruleth all things, with much content they abode in the condition in which they were, until they should be otherwise disposed of. And that is the end of that chapter. That is a very compelling chapter, I have to say. And I know, I remember when we were reading Little Women, they were always talking about this chapter. So I will possibly look for a link back to that chapter to put that in the YouTube video. If I can figure out which chapter that was, but I know that they talked about Vanity Fair. There might even be a chapter called Vanity Fair.
It was.
I'm pretty sure there was.
It was the one where Meg went to that ball party.
Oh, when Meg went to the ball party, as Kimberly says. There were a couple things that I wanted to say about this chapter, but I can't think of any of them at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for now. We're going to read chapter 25 next time, and that is called Trial of Faithful, Defense, and Death. The first word is then. That doesn't sound like a happy chapter. So we are going to, at this time, close off for tonight, and I will see you again next time. God bless you. Have a good night.